Welcome to the Startup Grind.
This is Josh Hagler. Everybody give him a round of applause. I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about who he is and what he does, and then we're going to go ahead and jump right into the interview, if that's cool. Is that cool with everybody? Is that cool? Oh, clap it up then. All right. All right.
Yeah, my name is Josh Hagler. 9 months ago, I never even thought of I could start a company or figure out how a website works or anything. Decided, I found a problem that college students need to solve in their life, and just went step by step, figuring out the small pieces to starting a company. And then once you take those first few steps, it's really, you're just grinding away after that. So 9 months later, I used to work here 9 months ago when it first started, and now I'm speaking here. It's pretty surreal.
Whoop, whoop.
So it's good to be here.
So you're delivering a baby after 9 months.
Whoop, whoop. There it is. This is it.
Yeah, but it's great to be here, and it's my first speaking event. I'm excited about it. Hopefully it won't be my last. Look forward to getting to know everyone.
Good stuff. Well, good stuff. Everybody clap it up for him. Clap it up for him. And the name of your platform is RoomScape U.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about RoomScape U. And you said that you want to solve a problem that the college students have. What was that problem, and how did you decide to solve it?
Yes, so the problem I found was me and my roommate, who's over there actually, my buddy.
Where you at? Stand up. Don't be hiding. There's Dean in the building.
So last fall, we were trying to make our room look cool. We'd go to Walmart, Target, the big department stores in town, and basically they had Justin Bieber posters, Miley Cyrus posters, Cinderella.
There's something wrong with that?
I mean, we didn't want it for our room. And so, after going to 3 or 4 places in town, I'm like, okay, why is there not one centralized place that I can go as a college student and say, okay, this is exactly where I want to be. They have everything I need right here. So, long story short, I found online a bunch of cool posters, put them up in my room. People were like, where'd you get those cool posters? I'm like, okay, I have something people want. There's a problem, people can't get them. And something as small as people couldn't get posters led the idea to, all right, let's source everything a college student would ever need and want under one platform and make it unique by bringing in, Florida State gear and party gear, stuff that applies to college students, and bring it all into one place and expand it campus by campus across the country.
Mm-hmm. So. Something I think that's really, really unique about you, not even so much unique, we're starting to see a lot of it, is college students are really, really taking the bull by the horn and starting companies, starting business. And I had the opportunity to kind of sit down with you and talk a little bit about, what makes you so passionate, because every time I see you on fire, which is good stuff. And I want you to talk a little bit about the college student and why it was important for you to start a business now. Why you're still in the game, you're still in school. Why'd you start?
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty much credited to my older brother. Started a company a year after he graduated school. So I was, I had 2 years left of college when he graduated, started a company. And I just saw all right, anyone can go after it. And while you're in college, you essentially, I'm fortunate enough, I don't have any student debt. And when you're in college, you have the freedom to start something. You have the freedom to make mistakes. So you can, start one thing, you go to class, and after class you start working on whatever. You can literally start selling something tomorrow. Mm-hmm. By now, platforms are so easy. You can start a website in a day, even if you don't know how to program. Mm-hmm. And just being a college student, you have that freedom, and there's just all the resources in the world. Not necessarily at the university, which there are great resources at the university, but more so just throughout the internet. You can go and you can take Stanford courses. Ryan back there, he started basically from scratch teaching people how to build websites, taking you through the very first step of how you open it to putting it up online. I went through that course, and it was just really incredible. Let's give it up for Ryan.
Ryan's in the building. Massive Academy is in the building. It's in the building.
An example of the resources you have as a college student, and you can make mistakes. You can fail in college.
Mm-hmm. One thing that was really cool about you when I first met you, way back some time ago when you first started your idea, you said, Vince, this is what I'm tired of. All these college kids, and it was like you excluded yourself. All these college kids, they got ideas, but they don't do ideas. I'm doing my idea. And so here you are right now doing the idea. And so, you know, the audacity to take a leap. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, what are you scared of? Like, what's holding you back from starting, you know, day one, saying, okay, what's the smallest problem that I'm solving here? And then going from that and seeing, you know, what the person that is using your product or service, seeing what they like about, you know, the problem you know, what the solution is. And it's basically just saying, you know, I'm going to fail 100 times, but 101st time, my idea's working, and just going after it with fire. And if you find something you're passionate about at the same time, which should be the case if you're starting a company, it's really, you have all the, you know, opportunities in the world once you take that leap and realize, okay, I'm in it now, and you know, it's me versus the world, and then you bring your team on, and it's fun.
There you go. And it seems like you don't have a fear of failure, and that's like an undercurrent theme that you always carry with you. How come you're not afraid of failure? I
mean, every time I fail, I say, okay, I just failed, but I learned from that failure. If you don't fail, what are you learning? You know, if you're not failing at something. It's like education, they always say, like, you know, don't make mistakes, don't fail. Now it's changing into, okay, we're seeing that people make mistakes and they're learning more than they ever would have, you know, if they didn't try something or if they didn't be a little unconventional with how they, you know, went about, whether it's education or, you know, hobbies. It's about like stepping off the course of where everyone else is trying to be, you know, straight and narrow, and, you know, go about just their daily routine. Say, okay, if I fail today, I'm gonna learn. You know, don't try and fail, but if it happens, I just learn from it.
Right, if it happens, it just happens. So your parents, what's their take on your entrepreneurial spirit? Because sometimes parents can be a little bit afraid when their children are out saying, we're gonna start businesses. You know, how does your parents take the fact that you decided to start a business? And in school at the same time?
Yeah, my dad might have to pay an extra semester because I decided to work a little more on my company than school. But they, you know, at first they're probably like, okay, he has an idea, what's he gonna do with it? And they saw that I kept going and going, and then I could just tell they were, you know, proud of my work ethic. As I was telling you earlier, my father came from like a one-bedroom shack in Alabama and worked his way up to living very comfortably, and that's the drive that I'm sure he sees in me when he sees that I'm starting my own company. So they have to be pretty proud.
Absolutely, I would think so. I think we ought to clap that one up, for real. Because I think a lot of times in the entrepreneurial journey, you know, as children, you know, you have this idea and you want to go do it, but to have support of your parents and for them to see that in you and to encourage, I think that's huge. I think that's awesome. Another thing that I want to talk about with you is you mentioned earlier all the resources. And we know that FSU is going through a renaissance of sorts, and they want to go towards a more entrepreneurial slant. Tell me a little bit about how FSU and the experience at FSU helps you in your entrepreneurial pursuits, and how does it hurt you at all, if it does?
Yeah, so I'm a sociology major, which is really extremely boring to me. Yeah, there we go. Give it up for him. No, there's some things that they teach in universities now that they just don't apply to the real world, and you think, like, should this actually be a major? Like, there's some majors out there, it's just like, I forgot, some vice president or something said, you know, there might not be a sociology major one day, but knocking my own major, but what was the question again?
Yeah, it's all good. Like with college, you know, because you said that there's a lot of resources, and FSU is going through a renaissance of sorts, and they're leaning more towards entrepreneurship. Yeah. So you got to feel that a little bit. But at the exact same time, you were talking about a challenge that you had, and I'll prompt you on that one because I want to hit that one hard. You know, what are the advantages that FSU is giving you? Let's talk about those first, and then we'll talk about the disadvantages.
So they have an entrepreneurship program, or like a major, but there's only 40 students in it right now. So it has tons of room for growth. I was telling you earlier that Stanford just gave a group of 10 students that started their own organization, they just gave them $5 million to invest in other students. So they're learning as college students how to become angel investors and going through that entire process. And that's just something you look at and say, how far behind are we? And maybe someone caught wind of that and said, we need to focus more on it. So now Florida State's trying to put an entrepreneur in residence in each college. Well, Mikey, you might be able to fill me in on that. Is that, yeah, they're trying to get like an entrepreneur.
They have 9 total right now, and they're soon to have 12 by the end of the summer.
So there's 9 entrepreneur residences right now, and there should be 12 by summer.
By the end of the summer, then they'll be a head entrepreneur residence person who will be in charge of all the entrepreneur residents.
Okay, cool.
Make sure the colleges are talking amongst each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Colleges are such a hotbed for, potentially it could be, the breeding of all the best startups in the world come from colleges. There's 40,000 students in one school. There's enough different talents and synergies that can, fuse together and build amazing things. And they're starting to see it after the Zuckerbergs of the world, who has $29 billion at 29 and started, the most connecting thing of all time. And they're seeing, okay, this kid started this in his dorm room. And then you have Twitter, who's same, from college. And it's just every startup you hear of, it's like, okay, they just graduated college and they had this idea in college. Like, okay, there's, they're at a place where they're learning and they have free times besides school. But at the end of the day, you gotta be able to connect, like you said, you gotta be able to speak between the different colleges. So it's not just like a huge bureaucracy where people are just going about their own majors and not thinking out of the box.
Right.
So that's a challenge, but that Florida State needs
To overcome.
Yeah.
And another thing that you're talking about that was a little surprising, I want you to, share a little bit more detail about, is you were saying that you were trying to get an intern. You have a startup, you're trying to get an intern, and you couldn't get an intern for your startup.
Right.
How'd that work out for you?
They have it's called the Career Center. So you go in there and figure out your career. They look at your resume and try and help you and all that. Provide internships, but it's all like big firms that come in and kind of say, okay, have an internship. So I went in there and said, okay, I'd like to be able to bring kids in and that can intern for me. It'd be a great way for them to learn hands-on. Like I'll be there, teaching them how I'm starting this company. I'm not doing it perfect, but they're at least getting that experience right there. And they're saying, well, we don't like interns we don't let interns work for startups.
Okay, wait a minute, pause for 1 second there. Did y'all hear that?
Can you get a boo?
We don't we don't boo on Startup Grind. He's about to start a revolution. But we don't let interns work at startups.
Yeah, it's like an oxymoron.
That was a policy statement.
I was in there for 45 minutes and this lady's like, I don't know what you think I can do, but it can't happen. I'm like, okay, well, you need to
Because you're a startup.
you need to see what these other universities are doing right now.
Yeah.
But actually, as of yesterday, one of my entrepreneurship professors was able to bring someone on for me that's going to be able to get course credits during the summer. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
that's
clap that up.
Yeah, let's get that clap.
So he got his intern. Somebody had to come and hustle for him, make it happen.
I mean, it's at the university's disposal to start companies because, okay, you take someone that has a company started, and why don't we give them 4 interns? Like if I had 4 interns all along, my company would have grown faster.
Yeah.
And I'm at your university, you should want me to start a company. Why can't I have an intern? And it's really like, all right, I can take 5 to 10 kids that are my intern, they're getting credit, taking them through. I have to list out what they're gonna do and everything, but it's like it's just gonna be a catalyst for speeding things up and growing.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I kind of went down that path of conversation, because while the university is nurturing entrepreneurship on one side of the fence. On the other side of the fence, they don't even recognize startups. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So we see that there's a lot of work that has to be done to really bridge those gaps that are in the education system, which is cool. It just means we have more to do. So as far as, because there's things that you talk about, like for instance, you talked about Stanford and how they actually did that project and how they gave the kids, some cash and said, we want you to be angel investors in other kids. That's really, really awesome. I bet you there's other stuff that you know that we don't know. And so we're going to go down that rabbit hole and let you start talking to us about some of the things that you see coming on the horizon as far as new technologies, new opportunities, and stuff that makes you excited.
Exciting, and at the same time, it's a little scary just because everything's about to change so quickly. I'm sure you guys have heard that they're working on self-driving cars. I mean, that's going to happen within the next 10 years. Cars are going to be driving themselves.
Right.
Like, you're going to be sitting there eating lunch while the car's driving you. My man Ryan has on his Google glasses here. And it's like, that's like the Flintstones right now. That's Google Glass where they were, so far behind what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure you've heard of Oculus Rift, which, where's?
Somebody here got it?
Yeah, he's working on it. I don't know where he went. But that company raised $2 million on Kickstarter.
And what is Oculus? For people who don't know what Oculus Rift is, what is it?
I think there's someone that can explain it better. Can anyone explain it really good? Ryan, take it away.
So basically, Oculus is this headset that you can use to view a virtual world. So it's a 3D world that is very immersive, and you can hook it up to a computer or a gaming system, and you can actually do something in a virtual world. It's really awesome. And I think it was like $2 million on Kickstarter.
And they did it on Kickstarter?
They sold to Facebook for $2 billion.
How many people in here are familiar with Kickstarter? Raise your hand. Just out of curiosity. Who's not familiar with Kickstarter? Raise your hand. Me? Okay, Kickstarter, just kind of give a quick view of what Kickstarter is a platform, it's a crowdfunding platform. So if you have an idea, you post it on Kickstarter, and then we can all contribute towards that idea to get it off the ground. We had a Kickstarter conversation before all this started tonight. Kickstarter is a very, very powerful platform, and it's really, really forwarding innovation.
Speaking of technology, yeah, I've heard they're going into real estate now. Not Kickstarter, but
There's
with
a real estate platform.
crowdfunding. So you can get together 10 of your buddies, pool together a bunch of money and buy a bunch of land, buy a bunch of properties. Crowdfunding is another thing that's,
Okay.
it's more of an idea than a technology,
Yeah,
but
but it's changing the game.
yeah. And the whole Oculus thing, it's like you put it on and you forget that you have it on. So if you're playing a video game, you look to the left, like you can shoot a hoop, that way, and it's like the entire thing is virtual reality.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So that's definitely going to change because you start thinking about, the applications of that towards education, exploration, all these other different things, travel, all that can be changed. That's pretty powerful. I want to go back to, because I had the opportunity to go talk to an entrepreneurship class at FSU. And one of the surprising things, I won't tell the whole story, but one of the surprising things is I was standing in a class full of students that were in an entrepreneurship class, and none of them thought of themselves as entrepreneurs. It was kind of interesting to me. You're a student on the campus. What is the entrepreneurship culture like? Is it, just kind of give us an idea of what the entrepreneurship experience is like there.
I'm pretty new to it still, but at the same time, I feel like I'm pretty experienced with it as far as, on the campus. So it's just people aren't thinking about being an entrepreneur when they're, able to go out and just hang out with friends and, do their own thing. And it's more so kind of the region we're in, but right now, like, we're lucky that, we have people like yourself and Micah, and because without you guys, there would be no movement in Tallahassee as far as building a startup ecosystem. So yeah. Seriously though, there'd be nothing.
Appreciate that, brother.
So because I mean on campus it's not enough. You need outside sources like, I keep thinking of Stanford and Silicon Valley, but I mean there's a reason they're produce the most entrepreneurs because they have outside sources. But it's challenging because I can't just go and bring on partners easily because if this company becomes really valuable one day and I gave 10% away to my friend when I was playing video games with him and then sell it for a lot of money one day, like, were they really that valuable? So it's been challenging, just starting up in college and trying to round out the founding team completely. But as I advance, that'll be the main objective.
Okay. How many people in this room actually have a startup? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've got a startup right now. I know a few of you that have startups. Okay, cool. So this conversation is, and how many of you are student startups? Raise your hand. That's a student startup, no, student startup. So we got a few of those. There's one back there.
Even if you're thinking about it, it counts.
How many, yeah, how many are, oh, okay, there we go. How many of you are thinking about starting a startup? Raise your hand. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the question component of this thing where you guys actually have an opportunity to ask questions. Or you can even ask me questions. It doesn't make a difference, but ask questions so we can really start to engage this conversation and take it a little bit deeper. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question, though, you personally.
Yes,
if there was one thing that at the end of the day that you wanted everybody in this room to know, what would that one thing be? If all you could give was one thing, what would it be?
I mean, it sounds cheesy, but just literally go out and say, I can accomplish anything. Like, it sounds cheesy again, but I wrote, junior year, I wrote out goals and I said, I will start a startup no matter how big or small by the time I graduate. And, I saw it every day on my door. And as I'm starting it, I'm like, all right, this is really happening. It's like, you just go for it. It's going to happen. Nothing's going to stop you. So it's really just going after it. I don't care what your expertise is. Like I said, when I started, I had no idea how a website worked, how any of that stuff worked. But then step by step, you find the resources that ease you into it. And it's like, okay, if other people can do it, I can easily do it,
Absolutely, absolutely. So are you cool with questions? Because they're going to ask some questions.
I'm ready.
And I don't hold them back, so they might ask you anything. Are you ready for that? He said he was ready. Here comes a question. Hit him, Dale.
Okay, here's a question. Probably everybody knows here. They have a presidential selection committee now for the next president. If you were on the committee, what questions would you ask that candidate or candidates to make this an entrepreneurial university? Meaning things perhaps that you would expect it to be there that were not as you've gone through your months of work, or what would you like the university to be doing to create this entrepreneurial university that the president could set in place? Just some thoughts.
What would you ask him?
Interns for startups.
Interns for startups.
How do you feel about interns for startups?
What's going to set this university apart from the other universities that are, close to us within the startup realm? What's going to set us apart in 5 years? There has to be one thing that's going to make us different and make us better. What's it going to be? What are you going to put in place that's going to take us to the next level? You want the president or not?
That's cool. That's good stuff.
That reminded me of just the whole crowdfunding in universities and just a lot of people with opinions. Is when FSU made the new logo, came out with the new logo, caused a big ruckus. All of a sudden, you see 20,000 different logo designs come, throughout social media, just everywhere. That just, crowdsourced a design contest when it didn't even count, but it just shows you like how quickly things can happen now. It's a little off topic, but maybe think of that. Yeah.
It makes sense though.
What was your biggest obstacle when you're building your business?
Biggest obstacle is to get someone to buy that wasn't a family member or a friend.
Somebody else.
So the first 2 weeks, I worked for 3 or 4 months on it, all excited to launch. I'll see order come in, a couple orders a day the first 2 weeks. Oh, it's Aunt Kim. Oh, it's my roommate ordered something, great. I'm just initially getting started and acquiring the first few customers. And then, honestly, there's obstacles are coming now that are more so than at first. It's like, okay, I'm gaining traction, I'm making more sales every month, but how am I gonna take it even further? You know, how am I gonna keep growing it without much funding or, you know, human capital for that matter? So it's just keep coming through with breakthrough ideas has been challenging, but the most fun part.
Oh, that's cool.
You tell.
Audrey had one that I'm gonna get you.
The logistics of it. So you're selling product, so that product has to be warehoused somewhere.
Uh-oh.
How do you? There's a lot of relationships involved in this process. You've got to find the products. You've got to know that they're quality. There's someone you want to represent. Put it all together, package it, get it on the website, make that happen. Find your customers, have them find you, and make it easy for them to show up at their front door. Because there's a whole lot of work that just happens there.
She's hired.
Right? So how do you do all of that?
It's magic. When I first started, I didn't really want anyone to know how simple it was to start. I was like, oh, someone's gonna come and take my idea. But now, like, go ahead and try. You know, you'll make your own thing. But essentially, I go and find online someone that has unique products that I want to sell. Either they're essential products for college students or they're unique products for college students. Those are the two phases of the company that twist together to make it, you know, different and stand out. So I'll go and approach them. It's probably like one of the things I'll take out of the most is I'll go to these suppliers who, you know, most of their partnerships are with huge retailers and distributors. So here I come, and they see like founder and CEO, my email address. They probably like, why is this guy talking to me? Because typically they don't deal with that stuff. But I would just go to, you know, say your supplier. I'll call you, find out your name, keep saying your name. You know, hi. What was your name again?
Audrey.
Hi, Audrey. Like, how are you today? You know, and then basically just being passionate has gotten me further than anything, because I'll say, you know, we're going to take this to the next level with your products. Your products fit perfectly within our site, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they are like, let's test it out. And that's been, you know, after I've talked to, I probably have like 50 different suppliers.
So you're asking. You're the one.
Yeah, I have to go, and down the line, once you get bigger, the people will be asking me to be on the site.
And you'll have buyers.
Right, but right now, I'm going out, and every single thing that's on the site, I have to go and track down and say, okay, let's team up and let's sell this together. And don't have a big warehouse at all. A lot of the other people do the fulfillment, which was a big secret at first, but now I'm over it. And a lot of e-commerce sites are that way now. I mean, it's called blind shipping or drop shipping, where, you know, you could order something from my site, someone else ships it directly to you. Right, and yeah, I guess they're doing okay. Yeah, so.
Let's get Gregor first.
So, I know you faced a lot of challenges in finding the right team to work with. What advice can you give to those people who are at the starting line from where you are now?
I'm still warming up if you're at the starting line. No, it has been the most challenging, getting a team together, because it's like a marriage when you take on a partner, and that scares me. Like, I'm not, but you really have to have it figured out. You know, when you take someone on, it has to be planned out 5 years down the line, because you're not doing this, you know, for fun. You're doing it for how big can it be 5 years down the line. So honestly, that's still something that I'm trying to figure out. Just finding the right fit, because I consider myself like a big picture visionary thinker, and that's kind of what I'm best at. You know, I need someone that's really organized and, you know, just has programming abilities. But honestly, like, that's something I'm still faced challenges with every day, because I'm still a very young company. So.
And I know there are a few hands up for students who are planning to start their own startups. Any advice you can give as far as where to go in FSU to find those like-minded people, those sociology majors that may be great partners for them to work with that are hiding somewhere?
I mean, I haven't really found a solid team yet, to be honest. And it's made me, for the long run, it's made me that much more built for what I want to do. And once I do have that founding team, I can already sense how I'm going to build the culture, how I'm going to say, everything we do is a team. It's not, you don't work for me, we're all a team, all your ideas matter the same. And I'm looking forward to that, building that one day, one day really soon. I am hiring if anyone wants to.
But if I can put a plug in that question, things like Startup Grind, things like what Micah's doing over at Domi, make sure that you're connected as much as you can. This city is really, I say it over and over again, going through like a renaissance. So all the people kind of started to come out the woodwork, but they're wiping their eyes at the exact same time, like we've been here for a while, right? So you really got to get connected, know when the events are going down, and become part of those events. Dig for business cards and ask questions.
Yeah, and start your own events even. Like I have a thing called College of Startup that I envision, teaching college students one day, once I'm out of college, how to get started and all that. So
That's cool.
that's something I'm working on.
That's cool stuff. Let's hit him way back there, then we're going to pivot over there.
What are the advantages of being in Tallahassee, and have you been approached about leaving Tallahassee with this idea at all?
Sorry, what was that?
What are the advantages of being in Tallahassee? And then on the second half of that is, have you been approached about leaving Tallahassee?
Advantage of Tallahassee, considering my target market is college students. I have 40,000 college students within 5-mile radius of here. So it works right now for me. I'm still going through school right now, so I haven't really thought about leaving, in the near future. I actually met with one of my entrepreneurship professors who's is a venture capitalist and teaches, is a professor on the side. And he told me that he thinks I should drop out. And I'm like, what? You're a professor. I have a year left.
I think we got to clap that up. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
I didn't tell you to do it.
it works for a lot of people.
I'm not clapping. Finish school.
But he was dead serious. He's like, what would your dad say? I was like, I'm not going to ask my dad. But he's like, it's going to be there. Right now, what you have, you could take it to the next level now when college will be there. So we'll see where I go after I graduate. It's appealing here because it is really fresh, and you could tell there's going to be, eventually, like in the next 5 years, there's going to be people coming here and plucking out, finding talent to invest in. It's not that far away. People are already coming down from Atlanta to, start incubators and accelerators. But it's all a matter of time and working the right people together.
Yep, good stuff. There's a question over here.
Is that me?
Yep, that's you.
I just dropped out of my PhD program for my business, so I decided.
Woo, woo. Clap it up. Look, for all the dropouts. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool, right? But my question is actually, what has been your best use of your startup money? As a startup company, we always are struggling with capital, and so I'm just curious, what do you think has been your best investment so far?
Probably Facebook advertising, to be very specific. With people 18 to 22 years old, they're all eventually going through their phones, and random people will come up to me. They'll find out that I started a company called RoomScape, and they'll be like, "Where have I seen that? I've seen that before. What's that from?" I'm like, okay, they've definitely swiped on Facebook and saw that some of their friends liked it. So I think the way that people connect or relate more to a new company is through their friends, either one way or the other, referring it to them, or subconsciously they saw they liked it. Things of that nature, where the marketing is done not through me but through other people, which makes they're taking someone that knows word for it almost. So it's social media advertising has been the best.
Other questions? Barbara had one.
You use a lot of viral type content that seems to be collected on your website. I'm just wondering, when you started doing that, how much it has changed the traffic to your website?
Is there anything you're referring to specifically?
I see you tweet little like viral videos and all kinds of things, but then they connect to your website.
He didn't hack the system.
It's really just testing the new things and seeing what works. If it doesn't work, okay, 50 people, 100 people saw it, and they didn't interact with it. What's that in the grand scheme of things? So after just keeping testing things, the things that catch on, they're going to go a little viral, and that's what it's all about. Is for a startup is how you grow fast and inexpensively.
Has it brought more people to your site then?
Yeah,
New techniques.
there's
Like in that transfer to sales?
Yeah, there's been, once Florida State won the national championship, that's when the company went from, just tittering along to, okay, people are going crazy over Florida State stuff, and that's going to happen, every year with team winning national championship. And that went viral kind of. It brought me up on Google, which I couldn't believe actually happened, but I look at the Google Analytics and it's saying, okay, people are landing on your page from just searching. Like, okay, how are they finding this company that I started and I had no idea what I was doing at first? You have content that people want to engage with, and that's how it gets discovered. So the Google's been good.
Google's been good. Leanne, hit him up.
Mine was kind of marketing. I was going to say, what type of platform have you chosen to market with, and then what's worked best for you? And then I have another question. Have you had any issue with logos in schools? Yeah, 'cause that's a whole nightmare, I know.
I thought you meant my logo.
Like team stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff with any of the
First question was
Sorry, marketing.
marketing.
What have you used that's been a good...
Yeah, it's, all the social media, so you have Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they're all huge. I personally like Twitter the best because you can, I can tweet you and say, like, how's it going? Check out our new sale today. And it's not, like on Facebook, you're prepping up your entire day for 2 to 3 posts that just blow people out of the water. Twitter, you can feel around, you can build relationships with people without having to, everyone to see it. You can have one-on-one conversation with it. So I've found Twitter as the best way to gain loyal customers or loyal users, and those people you interact with, they're the ones that are eventually sharing and eventually retweeting your tweets and that type of thing. There's big marketing firms that I can't afford yet that kind of automate all that, but I enjoy, it's my footprint, my brand. So, and the second question was logos. The licensing, so how it works is the company that very first produces or manufactures it, that royalty is paid a second that it gets produced. The university gets their royalty. And after that, it's all just, yeah, pretty much. So it's a lot less, sophisticated than people think at first.
How do you balance your time between school and business?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Really just shooting for C's and getting by. Okay. Oh no, you had C's in college, but you started your own company. Yeah. No one cares about your GPA. They don't care. No one even cares about your resume anymore. They want to see when you walk into a room if you have, if you have it, if you will. If you come in and have energy and passion, you're gonna be fine. So sometimes I'll mess up in school a little bit, but at the end of the semester, like right now, I'm plugging away and making up assignments, emailing my teachers saying, you have to let me do this, I'm not going to pass. So it hasn't been easy, but luckily I am a sociology major.
Michael?
Two questions. Number one, how many Twitter accounts do you have right now? And how many times have you been kicked off?
This guy knows some secrets. That's the beauty of it. I have some Twitter accounts that are just lost in limbo, like forgot the email address or something. But I probably have like 20 Twitter accounts that are on my phone right now. So I get an idea for something, okay, I'll start a Twitter for it and just follow 20, 50 people, starting to build a little network there. And you build 20 different networks and you're sharing, aggregating the content back and forth.
Yeah, for those of you that want social media, he does a lot of creative strategies for how he taps into markets and strategizes.
Wow, it is interesting.
Last question is, if you had 3 lessons that you could give someone that wants to start a startup, what would they be? They could be mistakes that you've made that you wish you didn't make, or what have you? What are the top 3 lessons you've
I left this out, but it's like there's a few people or a few thought leaders, if you will, that I've turned to, and you Google, remember this name Steve Blank? Some of you are familiar with Steve Blank, Stanford professor, one of the leaders of Stanford Entrepreneurship. And you go to steveblank.com and you click on startup tools, and he has, you know about it, and he has hundreds, thousands would be a little crazy. Just you want a certain category, you need help with starting something, you need help with a certain part of your startup. He has 50 examples of places you can go to right then, make the solution for it. So Steve Blank would be one. And I put Paul Graham in there with him, which started of Y Combinator. First big accelerator that we've seen. It's really all, the 3 main things are probably all going to be from just finding resources online, listening to, thought leaders, and then just researching competitors, seeing, okay, so like, what's the example of a cool brand you like?
Totally wide open field?
Yeah, first thing that comes to your head.
Apple.
Apple, I was thinking something a little smaller, but so you see what kind of content are they putting out? Are they putting out long posts with a lot of text, or are they putting a picture in one sentence? And you find that the companies that people gravitate towards and naturally just start to love the company, see what they're doing, and not replicate it, but put your own footprint on it, and go towards the same way. So it's just really thinking of everything, it's all your resources.
Those are good questions. Anybody else have questions? Any more questions?
Biggest inspiration that's not family.
Biggest inspiration, not family. Ooh, you're making me think too long here. I'm taking a shortcut, but it's the truth. I went to Haiti last summer, and I get off the plane terrified because Haiti's pretty dangerous. People don't just go there. So I went on a missions trip to, give back and see how bad it really is. So I get off the plane, there's like 50 different taxi drivers that are like, you're coming with us. And I'm like, all right, we're getting kidnapped for sure. But so it was me, my brother, and his best friend. And then, so we went out to the villages of Haiti, which the second you leave the airport in Haiti, you drive out and all you see is blue tarps. Remember when there was an earthquake in Haiti, 2009 or something? People are still living under blue tarps since that earthquake and sharing whatever pot of hot, water they have. They have to walk 4 miles a day in order to get that water. And then But the thing that inspired me was these people were the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. And like playing with the little kids, like they're happier than little kids I see in America. It's just like, all right, it's inspiring in a different way, in a way of like, no one realizes how good you have it. But Haiti was pretty life-changing.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, I don't have any more questions. I mean, I think that everybody can see why I would have somebody like a Josh Hagler. If you came to any of the other events, we had JT Burnett on the first one, then you had Carl Smith on the second one. So we had investment, we had culture. Now we have just raw from the grassroots startup. And this is what it looks like. It's hard work. Would you say that it's hard work?
Yeah,
it's
being tenacious.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times there's like this idea and this romance that's going on with startups right now that it's this big easy thing. I'm gonna be the next Mark Zuckerberg, but at the end of the day, you got to get your chops in the game and actually get gritty, and that's something that Josh has done ever since I've known him. And I want him to have this event in his back pocket and to do something cool like this. So let everybody just give him a round of applause. So we kind of combined the interview piece and the questions kind of together. At this time, you guys can kind of network, get to know each other. Part of Startup Grind is really about building community. If you haven't talked to somebody and gotten their business card tonight, you've really kind of done the wrong thing. You've got to know somebody. Don't leave here not knowing somebody new and knowing what they do. Like over here, we've got somebody that does like travel for education, which is awesome. Heck, I want to go somewhere and learn something. It's cool. So you've got, really, really interesting people in the room. Get to know people. Dale Weeks right here is about to change the world. Micah over there, he's doing his big parts. If you don't know these people, I mean, you're missing out a lot. So take some time, get to meet each other. I don't think they're going to kick us out for a little while. So enjoy yourselves, and I appreciate everybody for coming out to Startup Grind.